Hey everyone, and welcome to The Talks, the new MCHF podcast, and your new to go for everything happening within the college. Whether it's a school event, student wellbeing, interviews with teachers and students, or just some fun topics, we have it all covered. I'm Chloe, a Year 11 student who has recently been elected as the 2026 College Vice Captain.
Woohoo.
In this episode, we are excited to welcome three of our teachers here at the college. With a wealth of experience and passion for education, they will unpack all things with reading, why we as teenagers love it or love to hate it. Welcome, teachers. Thank you for joining us. Can we start by asking all of you to introduce yourself to the audience, your name, role, and what brings you here to the education at MCHF?
Okay, I'm Mrs. Detling. I am the head of teaching and learning, but I've been at MCHF for since January, so since term one, and I love this community of learners. It's a beautiful community, and we have so much growth that we can do, but we've got to work together to find the pathways forward, and I look forward to that.
I'm Mr. Cunningham. I've been at MCHF about 5 years. I'm the leader of learning for English from K through to 12. And I guess the reason why I'm here is because I want to spread the enjoyment and love of literature and books to as many people as I possibly can, because I feel it has a tremendous impact on not just students, but teachers and the community.
I'm Mrs. Papanastasio and I am the Secondary Learning Centre Supervisor, although I prefer to call myself a Teacher Librarian. I think that tells people more of what my role actually is in the Learning Centre. I came to MCHF about 5 years ago and this position just came to me at the right time in my life. I had a young family. I was looking for work-life balance and this school provided me with that in a community and a faith that is my own and that I'm familiar with. Libraries have always been a joyful escape for me and I'm hoping to provide a joyful, happy place for students here as well.
That's amazing. Thank you, teachers. Let's get straight into it. Reading. We know it's important. We know we need more of it. Can you delve deeper into this? Why is it so important to read?
Oh, I might kick us off here. So I think that we all know that reading is so important because it stimulates creativity. When we see other people playing with words and playing with sentences and telling us stories, because stories are what we all made of and what we can give to other people, that allows us to be curious and inquisitive and find out about other humans. So I think the most important thing about reading is actually our ability for introspection and looking at ourselves as a human race through finding out about others' stories. And they can be real stories or they can be fake stories. Who cares? And I think it's really exciting that reading can give us these pathways. They can give us these opportunities even when we're locked in our room, if we're I don't know, naughty at home and mum and dad say, go to your bedroom. Well, you know what? Nothing can tame our imagination. And the one thing that we can do to feed and stimulate that imagination is to read. So it's really a gift. So that's why I love it. You know, it does all of those things about building our vocabulary reservoir. I think that is really important because when we have command of the English language, or of any language actually, when we have command of words and we can capture people's attention, that is when we are successful. So if you look at all of the people who are ruling the world, it's not necessarily the smartest people who are in positions of power around the world. It's the ones who can get people to be manipulated by them. And manipulation isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's the ones that can get people to actually follow them. And how do we learn that? Through language. How do we learn language and how to manipulate language and how to use it to our advantage? We read. And so that's why we want to sow these seeds of creativity through reading.
It's funny you say that actually, because I said something very similar to Year 11 the other day during a talk. And honestly, reading isn't just about vocab or comprehension, whilst it is a big component of it. It's like you were saying, it's a way to safely explore emotions, such as your grief, such as your joy, triumph. It's about sort of going through that journey with a character that can take those risks that maybe you're not ready to take. And realistically, that plays a big role. So it helps actually build that empathy that we all sort of crave and sort of look for, so we can connect with other people. And then it obviously helps you process your own feelings as well, because that's really what being a human is really about, to understand those emotions and that empathy. And then there's obviously always that, like you said, running away to your room or being sent to your room. It's that escapism, if you will. It's that sort of idea that you can go into another place, because life is loud. School is, let's face it, stressful. And obviously a book gives you space to sort of step away and sort of recharge and sort of come back in a sort of calmer, sort of more clear-minded fashion, I think.
That's actually really amazing. I'm really glad to hear that. But I am curious, why don't teenagers in contemporary society engage with it anymore after hearing all of that?
I think that I think that reading involves a lot of effort and investment. Okay, so reading involves us actually using the little synapses in our brains which have come together and formed these neural pathways, and it involves active work. And we are, as Sir just said, we live in such a loud, busy society. We have the internet on our phones and it's flashing at us all colours and beautiful, bright things and things that are, like little glitter balls. Just look over here, look over here. Everything is so loud and in your face, even when it's not talking to you. So to actually have a book which requires us to use whatever reservoir of information, of creativity, of our terms of reference to build a scene, to build something that is not somebody else's creation, but comes from our own experiences. It really involves some really deep, as I said, introspection and looking at what we have. And also it involves you valuing what your world and your experiences are, to draw on them. And quite often we're not confident in ourselves or our own experiences. And also it's hard work. It's hard work. And sometimes we just want to take a break. Whereas it's like, I find reading is like doing weights a little bit. The more you do it, the more you build up the neural pathways, the more you build up that muscle. And so you can rely on that muscle memory to be able to create these scenes for you. So if you don't invest in reading to begin with, and it's never too late to start, but if you don't invest in it, then it's very hard to just all of a sudden go, I'm going to start reading, right? And so it's easier to fall back on prepackaged made entertainment. The thing with that is that you're limited by the scope of the creator, whereas when you read, you have no limitations. And I think that we are unaware, or a lot of us who don't enjoy reading are unaware of the depth of our creativity and the reservoirs that we have.
I think adding to that as well, not only all the distractions that teenagers are faced with, I think reading is just seen as uncool. It's an uncool activity. And I see that in my library lessons all the time. I bring up, we're going to read today. Oh, I never read. I've never liked reading. I've never picked up a book in my life. I get a lot of negative reactions from the students. And so for the kids who are good, active, avid readers, they're then afraid to put up their hand and say, I'm reading this, I'm really enjoying these books. I really have to probe that out of them. So this idea that reading is not the cool activity, I think that's a big problem for our kids and their mindset. And I don't know how we go about changing that, but I find that that's probably the biggest issue here at our school.
It's funny they actually both said those 2 points are quite interesting to me, that the idea obviously that it's not cool in the first place, because I know that I didn't used to read until much later in life. I didn't actually start in this, where it connects to your point as well, Ms. Dentling, that I didn't start connecting to reading until I was about year 12 when I suffered a football injury, so I couldn't play. I was out, I was sidelined, because that's all I ever did was play football. And just to clarify, that's rugby union, just so we're clear on that. Right, the rah-rahs. But in that sense that I was both upset and happy that sort of happened, because it actually allowed me to get in touch with reading, because I was forced into a situation where I had to, because we didn't actually have access to Netflix and things like that back when I was a kid growing up. Yes, I am that old. Surprise, surprise. But I think back to the question as well, it's a tough competition out there these days.
Yep.
Like, and I know you both touched on it as well, but you have TikTok, you have YouTube, you have Netflix, you have all these quick instant hits of entertainment. And realistically, a book would feel too slow for a lot of people as a result. And there's also the busyness of everyday life that sort of comes into it now as well. People have to contend with tutoring, sports outside, sports in school, social commitments, the idea of family commitments. So I think for some, reading then starts to feel like a bit of homework because, like you did say, it takes a bit more brain power. It takes a bit more of that imagination coming into it. And on top of that, if the stories we're doing don't reflect their real world, then there's no buy-in as well. So there's like, why am I reading this? I can't see the connection. I can't connect with this text. Why are we still doing it? And we have to think about texts now have to fight harder for their attention than ever before, which is the challenge.
I 100% agree, and it's funny you say that because I'm gonna ask you, why read when you have such compelling sources of entertainment like Netflix or TikTok at your fingertips?
Oh, I think each of us have touched on that, and I think it's a brilliant point. But you know what? All of these things, like our iPhones and stuff like that, in today's world, they have this built-in obsolescence. Things are made to end, made to break, and I think that's what's so endearing about a book is you can pick up a book and read it so many times and get so many different interpretations based on your evolving experience in the world. Whereas I can watch K-pop Demon Hunters, the latest Netflix drop for tweens. I can watch that, but I can only see as much into it as the director has or the composer has allowed me to.
Yeah.
So I think that we have to really give books not a level playing field. So Netflix, we're not putting down Netflix. We're not putting down TikTok. These are fabulous pieces of entertainment, of information, of communication. We agree with them. But, the greatest invention in the world, they say, is the printing press because it allowed us to connect and communicate with people. I think that now it's just an evolution of that printing press idea, and we don't have to relegate books to being a competitor. I think we have to see that there is equal space for each of these within our very complex and creative and clever minds. But what we have to do is we have to give books a chance and give language. You may not have the ability to read a classic novel because it goes on for so long and you're so busy. I get it. We get it. We get it, right?
Yep.
However, what it can do is we can see that there is space in there for you to read segments of it and be immersed in other cultures. So we think that maybe reading should be something that is something that's looked at differently to when we were little. We had to read the whole book. Maybe you could look at a book as reading as a 45-second thing. See how many words you can read. And if you don't like engrossing in stories, look at the etymology of words. Look at the structures of sentences. I find etymology of words far more fascinating because each word has a story in itself. So I think there's so many aspects of reading that we can't just look at it as a simple, a really simple concept. I think it's multifaceted and it takes us to so many other places.
I mean, realistically, you say why read when obviously there's Netflix, but I don't think it's sort of like they're separate things. They can be complementary. I mean, how many times, and I know that some people would agree with this, some people might not understand it, but how many times has a film been done or a book been turned into a TV series or inspired that series? Like there's a lot of great Netflix series out there at the moment because they come from books. So the world's already constructed, the world's already sort of made. So when we think about it, Netflix basically hands you the world, whereas a book, you are the director. You basically get to steer it. You get to design. You get to cast who you want to be there. And you control the pace. If you just want to read, like you said, just a snippet, a chapter, a page, heaven forbid who stops at a page, but if you just want to read a page, right, you can read a page. And that's why stories really stick. They really resonate with you long after, say, a Netflix series generally does, because you're having to put in more of that brain power, more of that work. And it's because you're active. You're active in that moment. Your brain is working there. It's being empathetic. It's building those connections. If you want to look at like a metaphor, Netflix is like fast food. Okay, it's there. You pick it up. You turn it on when you're feeling a bit lazy, and we've all been there, right? I've definitely been there. But it's easily forgettable. Like a lot of times, it can be easily forgettable because there's so many shows now. There's so many shows vying for your attention. But if you think about it, if you take the time to read, it's like a slow cook. All right, it's like roast lamb. All right, and it's really there, but it actually really nourishes you. It really feels filling. It really feels satisfying. Okay, that's just how I sort of equate it.
Those were golden responses, and we actually interviewed some of our very own students at MCHF, and we asked them for their opinion on reading. So let's check out what they had to say.
Cool.
I read any chance I can get, and I like reading because it stimulates my brain, and it's very interesting seeing the different stories.
I like reading because it's very entertaining.
I don't like reading because I believe that there are better things that you can do instead of reading, and I got turned off from reading the beginning of high school time when we started reading heavy novels and long page books.
I like graphic novels because of the complex details in the artworks and the plot. The plot is the fun part.
So after hearing what our students had to say, what recommendations would you give to the students who might be interested in getting into reading?
I mean, what I always say is, start simple. I don't think there's any wrong entry point. Start with a graphic novel if that's what gets your attention, short stories, or even just books linked to shows or games or whatever it is that you're interested in. I think that's the best way in, whatever grabs your attention. Then look to swap, make it social in the sense with if you've got a mate who's read something, even if it's the first chapter, just switch up books with them, It's what I do. Most students at school that know me know that I'm a bit of a history buff. So at the moment, what I'm actually reading is Circe. And it's actually a really cool, interesting book and a new sort of perspective on sort of aspects of the Odyssey from a female perspective, which is quite interesting.
Very interesting.
I think a big thing for our kids is to just keep an open mind. Books can be cool. Pick up that book, as Sir said, find one that is, a topic of interest to you. Start with that. Give it a go, and you never know, you might find that really great book or that great author that makes you want to continue on reading. I think the other thing that's important as well is that home support as well. There have been a lot of studies that have been done that suggest that parental involvement is a big influence in teen reading. So if we can get our community reading, that's going to really help our teens get engaged in reading as well.
Yeah, and I think the final tip that I'll give is one about confidence. So our community very much is one based on, I think a lot of us have a very low self-efficacy perception. We don't think we're good enough. Self-esteem, we don't think we deserve it. And I think everyone listening to this, everyone in our community is worth it. Everyone does deserve it, and whatever that it is. So therefore, if you think, I could never read that, I don't understand it, find a book that you will understand. Find a book that is at your level, and that is wonderful. That is all you need, because all you need is a little key to unlock this whole world that you've never even imagined is there, and you deserve it. So give yourself the opportunity, go into the library and go see Mrs. P and go, hey, what do you think? I like this stuff. Can you give me some advice? And that's all you need.
Great. So that brings us to the end of today's episode on the power of reading here at MCHF. Remember, every book you open is a new world waiting to be discovered, whether it's building your imagination, strengthening your learning, or simply giving you a quiet moment of joy. Thank you to our guest panel. Until next time, keep turning the pages, keep asking questions, and most importantly, keep reading.